Good afternoon, 111. This is a quick overview video for the final week, week 8. You've arrived at the last 8th of the course. Congratulations. And you only have a couple tasks remaining to finish off the course. Just a quick list of the things you need to do. At this time, you should have submitted to me last week an instructor's draft of Essay 3. And I have or am about very shortly here to return that essay to you with revision suggestions and comments for you to revise and resubmit as your final draft. You have until Thursday at 5 p.m. to do that, and that's only in order to make extra safe and sure that I have received it, that it is that there's no major problems with it, and that you don't disappear on me before that major assignment is nailed down, so that we don't have any open-ended or problems with passing you or getting credit for that assignment. So I put it a day earlier than normal. So Thursday at 5 p.m., your final draft. And I would put some real effort into that revision, only because your final grade, that this is essentially what will, this is your last best chance to raise your grade or to move the needle one way or the other. And I will take that into consideration as I read your draft and make sure that the effort that you put in is rewarded as is appropriate. And so I encourage you to put some work into it. It's also culminating. It all culminates all the things that you've been working on in this this course. So it's a great final capstone essay for what you've been doing. After you've completed the final version of Essay 3 and submitted that, then you are to take the timed final. And it sounds scary, but it's not worth that much points, but it is required. And what this is essentially the same assignment as you did the first day of the class, the timed writing homework, when you took 50 minutes to write what you observed in a short piece of text that I gave you. This is the same exact assignment. You're going to have 50 minutes, essentially the same instructions, a different text. The first time I gave you Merton Festival of Rain. This time I've got a different text in there for you. And you just read it quickly and observe it, talk about what you're observing. And but this time, now that you've done it already and you've gone through this course, I want to see how maybe two things improve. One is that your observations lead to an interpretation. So in other words, perhaps instead of a more haphazard movement from close reading to interpretation, I want to see that you use what you observe to build towards an interpretation, in a more intentional way, right? Now that you've done this several times in the course. And the second part is to show me in a concrete way, to point to specific things that you're seeing when you're making your observations, right? If you think the author has a certain tone, what words or phrases suggest that tone? So those are the two areas that I'm hoping I see that you've gotten better at, and I'll be looking for those, especially in general, in addition to the general completion of that assignment. So that's the second thing to do, is the final. And then the last thing to do this week before you can sign off forever and enjoy the last few weeks of the summer here is to do the course evaluation. And I just put a link to that in the bottom of week 8, and you link to it, sign in, and fill out the generic course evaluation. That goes into my record, and we always take those very seriously, and I would really appreciate your honesty and your suggestions there. It's an online course. It's been my first online course at George Fox, and I want to learn how to do it better. So I really appreciate what your thoughts are about how I've taught writing and how I've administered the course as an online course. And you can tell me if you have any thoughts about that. Thank you so much. One last thought before I send you out here for the final week, for this final video. I was going to make a short video about how you can use, or how you can bring forward the things you've learned in this course to your further studies and into your career. But I thought I'll keep it brief and I'll just put it into this overview video. So very briefly, what have you learned in this course and how can it help you? Well, what we've been working on in this course is what we might call pre-disciplinary writing. Pre-disciplinary, which means you have your major, you have your disciplines, you have the sciences, the humanities, the business majors, whatever major you're in, those are disciplines. And the writing, the essential writing skills and writing concepts we've been developing in this course apply to all disciplines, regardless of how scientific or humanities-based they are, regardless of the technical requirements of those disciplines. Writing in this course has applied to all of them. So in pre-disciplinary writing, as you've noticed, we have been focusing on things that are intrinsic to the nature of analysis and interpretation itself. You can, based on what you've learned in this course, you should be able to go from here and to analyze any text, any advertisement in the marketing world, any scientific journal article in the science world, any poem or play, a conversation that you're having with your friends, a text message. These interpretive moves that you've made, observing things and then drawing logical inferences from what you've observed, these can apply, and rhetorical analysis and style analysis, these can apply to any form of textual interpretation. So keep that in mind. What you're learning in your disciplines, we can say, is that set of concepts that I've just listed, plus a few specific shortcuts or rules of thumb or specialized conventions that apply only to your field. In other words, what you've been doing here is always going on in any kind of reading and analysis you do. And getting a major or becoming an expert in a specialized field is really to say you've learned how to do all those interpretive moves plus a few of the special tricks of that special field. So think about that and see how you notice those moves applying to whatever special field that you work in or are starting your journey toward. Now, a word about research. We didn't talk about citations and research systems very much in this course, and that's because each discipline, like I was saying, they each have their own special shortcuts and so forth. One of those conventions is the citation conventions of that discipline. So we didn't talk about citations very much in this course because citation systems are in themselves a highly specialized kind of knowledge that apply specifically to different fields. And even within different citation systems like APA, different fields apply the rules of APA, for instance, very slightly differently. So you will learn those citation systems and those rules in your discipline precisely because that's where it makes the most sense and that's where it's most appropriate to learn them. So if you get asked or if you wonder, well, how did I become a better researcher or a better user of source texts in this course? The answer is you became better at that because you thought about the nature of texts themselves and how incorporating them into your own interpretations works at all. And by focusing on that, you're now prepared to go into your field and apply the conventions of citations to that basic interpretive technique that you've been practicing here. And last but not least, you might have noticed that we haven't talked too much about what many people, when they say, oh, you're a writing teacher or you teach writing or that's a writing class, what they kind of think about, they might think about thesis statements and so on, but what they really think about is grammar, syntax, figuring out how to get those bad grammar things, those problems you might have, those grammar problems out of your writing. And we didn't really talk much about that in this class. And that's also intentional. Writing is 90% thinking and only 10% knowing the rules of the language. And not only did I not see many debilitating problems in your grammar for those of you who are in this course. But we also know that focusing on fixing those nitpicky things about your grammar doesn't really help to make you a better writer in the long run. So this was a class that was intentionally focusing on the long game. How can you become a better writer in the years to come in your upcoming career in your life? And that is by thinking about those things that we've been doing in this class. How do I interpret things? How do I say specifically why what I see means what I think it means? That's going to make you, and how do I think rhetorically about writing, and how this text persuades or it has a purpose to change my mind about something. Those are the things that are going to help you become a more thoughtful writer and a better reader and analyzer. Okay, so those are some of my thoughts about this course and why we did what we did and how it actually will help you. And in a way that's more than just I passed a writing course, I learned how to put commas in the right place, or I learned a citation system, right? Those things will come with time. As you read and write and as you do research papers in your field, you will learn those things. So I hope that this course has given you a jump start on becoming I hope that you become, first of all, more confident in when you see something in a text that you are observing something, that pattern does have a meaning, and you can say specifically what that meaning is. That's the first goal. The second goal is that you can articulate that interpretation in a thesis-driven way with a top-down organization. And if you've done those things, then I think we've met the major learning goals of this course. Okay, I will stop there. Have a great week. Last week, email me your questions as always. I look for your last few assignments, your final draft, your final, and then your course evaluation. I look forward to reading those. Have a great rest of your summer, and God bless.